story. The World Cup qualifier between Bafana Bafana and Ethiopia will be the first sporting event in the country to have spectators since the hard lockdown in March last year. Our colleague Arthur Bwanakawa is outside the FNB Stadium and brings us some of the reactions as fans return to the stadium. Arthur, a stadium experience, as we indicated earlier, not just about the fans and the players, there are vendors, there are small businesses that are involved, and normally it's really busy inside and outside the stadium. What are you observing there so far?
Thank you very much, Clement. You have put it in the right way and in the right words. I tell you what, something that hasn't been, the scene that we are seeing behind us and around us has taken about 19 months before we could get to a point where we are literally protecting the lives of every South African and every person within the nation of South Africa. You did mention that some people make a living from selling some food or items on the side of the road. Normally that happens ahead of big matches. One that is very familiar and famous at the FNB Stadium is, of course, the Soweto derby between Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. A few minutes before we just did this live, while there was already briefings taking place for media personnel, distinguished guests, and of course the fans. I'm standing with eNCA David Mzolo, who is actually one of the street vendors that unfortunately will not be able and permitted to sell food outside of the stadiums because that is against stadium management policy. There are mamas that have been brought in that are fully vaccinated that will be cooking food, of course, for those distinguished guests later on this afternoon and this evening at the FNB Stadium. eNCA David, wow. It's been such a long time before you could be allowed back in, and at this moment no street vendors are allowed to even come and sell any of their items because the number one thing is, of course, the safety of every person that is coming to this venue. How has it been for you personally living in the midst of coronavirus?
Yeah, it's been a hell, really, because today we came here hoping that we will be selling our product after a long time of suffering. You see, FNB used to be our place of working because we are not employed, but we are also employed by FNB Stadium. When there's big matches or any other events here, we used to make money from 2,000 to 3,000 per event to support our families and our children. Now that today is the opening day, we came to celebrate the opening day of the FNB Stadium, but now we are told the vending are not allowed to sell the product at the stadium. But we understand because of the COVID-19, because of the vaccination problem. I also urge all the South Africans to get vaccinated so that the government can open the event to all of us. So we as vendors, who are people who are working at the stadium, once everybody get vaccinated, we are all free to come and make money. We are all free to come and enjoy our football and other events at the stadiums.
What are your alternatives? Because of course you've not been allowed to sell any of your products at the stadium. How have you been living? What has been that plan B or that plan C that has helped you survive for so long?
I used to go to the nearest shopping malls to squeeze myself among those hawkers who's been there for a long time, who've been there before even lockdown. Now we, the people who are working at the stadiums, we go to squeeze ourselves there because we have no other alternative to make income for our families.
Okay, in particular, we have not yet got the word from the Sports Ministry on whether or not fans will be allowed at PSL matches. If it takes longer before you're allowed back at the stadium, what would be the solution to this crisis for some people who make a living through street vendoring?
We will not have any other, we will not have any solution, but just to go back and squeeze ourselves at the shopping malls until everybody gets vaccinated. Maybe the government can allow us to go to the stadiums again, because as I see, it's because of the people don't want to go and get vaccinated. That's why the government is so strict on us coming to the stadiums.
Well, eNCA David Mzolo, thank you so much for your time and just given the rest of the sports fraternity in South Africa a better understanding on life has been for quite some time for those who make a living just on the side of the road, parallel, as I said earlier on in the previous live crossing, to Nasrec Road. I tell you what, Clement, it's something that is still a fight in many different aspects of the sporting fraternity in South Africa, but the vaccinated fans are allowed ahead of tonight's kickoff between Bafana Bafana and Ethiopia. We are a few moments away from witnessing again South African fans in a South African stadium.